Mrs. Turner is busy cooking Yansberry pie when Timmy comes up to her wanting to play Surgeon General, a board game for 10-year-old kids. However, Timmy's mom and dad are simply more interested in sitting around and watching the pie bake rather than play with Timmy. Disappointed, Timmy goes to his fairies and tells them about his old imaginary friend Gary, that he used to go on fun adventures with all the time, saying that he was cool, and showing pictures of him and his non-existent friend on a teeter-totter, about to be at the monster in Timmy's closet, and at therapy together. Timmy wishes that Gary was real, and Gary appears from a crude drawing Timmy drew of him, a real human being. Gary points at Timmy, accusingly at first, but quickly regains his composure and approaches Timmy as a friend. Timmy tries to hug Gary, but he pushes him off, saying that public displays of affection are not cool. Cosmo and Wanda seem to like Gary. He knows who they are and greets them as Cos and Juan. Timmy wants to play with kites and other boy stuff, but Gary says those things are also not cool. When Timmy asks what is cool, he suddenly asks his parents for the keys to their car. Mr. Turner tosses Timmy the keys, but Mrs. Turner snatches them out of the air, saying that Timmy is not old enough to ask for the car or drive. Timmy says that he wants to go to the arcade with Gary, causing his parents to worry for a second that Gary was back and Timmy needed to go to therapy. But they are surprised when the real Gary appears and charms them with his coolness. Timmy tries to be cool too, but ends up blowing up the oven and the pie inside. At school, Chester is showing off a possum to AJ and Sanjay when they spot Gary and Timmy approaching them in stride. Gary grins wickedly and then trips Timmy, who ends up with a mouthful of turf. Timmy's friends are impressed by Gary, but when Timmy tries to get them to play Surgeon General with him, Gary remarks that board games are uncool and runs off with Timmy's friends to do something cool. Timmy talks it over with Wanda when he wonders where Cosmo is. Even Cosmo is following Gary around like Timmy's friends, disguised as a dog. At lunch, Trixie approaches Timmy, who becomes enthralled that she's actually speaking to him, but it turns out she just wanted to get to know who his new cool friend was. Gary was busy cracking jokes about Timmy at lunch. Every time he snapped his fingers, a bunch of students would faint from his coolness. This is the last straw. Timmy demands to talk to Gary outside. When Timmy confronts Gary outside, asking why Gary was trying to win over Timmy's friend and not girlfriend, and why he was making Timmy seem uncool in front of everyone, Gary is starting to reveal resentment toward Timmy. So before anything can get out of hand, Timmy wishes that they were back at home. However, Gary wishes they weren't back at home, and Cosmo and Wanda oblige. It turns out that since Gary is part of Timmy's imagination, he's part of his mind, and thus he controls Timmy's fairies too. Timmy tries to get rid of Gary by wishing he was back in his mind, but Gary wishes that Timmy was there with him, and they are both sucked into Timmy's imagination. Inside Timmy's mind, Gary reveals his resentment toward Timmy. When Timmy did not need an imaginary friend anymore, he locked Gary away inside his mind. Gary welcomes Timmy to the very prison that Timmy locked him away in, and uses figments of Timmy's imagination to trap him. Gary stuffs TV tubbies into Cosmo Wanda's ears so they can't hear Timmy's wishes, and then locks Timmy into a large building block prison and begins to pile Timmy's 5-year-old toys on top of him. However, Timmy realizes that he is 10 and can use his 10-year-old stuff to beat Gary. He attacks Gary with a giant Surgeon General robot. Gary counters with the monster from Timmy's closet, but Timmy remembers that at age 6 he realized it was not a monster in the closet, but a green sweater, which the monster turns into. And at age 8 he met a real monster, Vicky, and a giant version of her then appears from the green sweater and attacks Gary. He's swallowed by the giant Vicky, but vows to escape in the name of everything is cool. Timmy wishes himself out of his mind before the giant Vicky can get him too. They escape out of a door labeled exit, but it is discovered that Cosmo forgot to lock it. Eventually, the giant Vicky threw up Gary because she hated the taste of cool, and Gary opens the exit door to Timmy's mind and begins to laugh maniacally for a moment before correcting himself, saying that laughing maniacally is not cool.